If you're constantly feeling drained, exhausted, and completely overwhelmed, there's a good chance you might be suffering from something called mental fatigue. Today we're going to talk about what that is, the 8 common causes, and how to know if it's affecting you and your life. Stick around. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nina. I'm a life transformation coach, and here at this channel we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and living our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please go ahead and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. So mental fatigue is something that many of us experience when we go through periods of our life that are filled with chronic and prolonged stress. So we may not have the exact words to describe it, but we may feel like we're kind of in a fog all the time, or we feel that we're mentally blocked. We may feel that tasks that are usually incredibly easy for us have become very difficult, or that we are completely unmotivated or uninspired. We may feel very irritable, or we may feel that it is affecting other aspects of our life, like our sleep or our appetite. Mental fatigue is triggered by prolonged cognitive activity, usually under stressful conditions, that is not balanced with rest and relaxation. But I think that explanation can feel a little bit vague, and when it is vague, it's hard to know whether or not it's something that is really affecting us personally. So today I wanted to talk about the top 8 causes and habits that could be contributing to this type of mental exhaustion. That way, when we hear the list, we can see if it kind of rings a bell for us. Now, hands down, the biggest and most obvious reason is going to be overwhelming stress, and it could be due to just about anything. It could be that you have a high-pressure job, or you work incredibly long hours. It could be that you recently had a baby, or that someone you know is suffering through an illness or has recently passed away. But anything that is going to cause you overwhelming stress could be a contributing factor. Now, the second thing can be that we are in the habit of overcommitting. So maybe it's that we have difficulty saying no, maybe we struggle with boundaries, but we are biting off more than we can chew. We have taken more onto our plate than we can actually handle. So when this happens, it causes an incredible amount of stress for us, which can again be another contributing factor. Now, the third thing can be being a caretaker or a support system for others. And I want to give the huge disclaimer that oftentimes it is very important and necessary to be caregivers or support systems for the people that we love in our life. However, we must remember that we do have limits. We can't do everything. We cannot fill someone else's cup when we are draining and depleting our own. We can do this maybe short term, but we certainly cannot do this long term. We cannot put someone else's needs always in front of our own. And that leads me directly into number 4, which is not meeting our own needs. Now, this certainly does not have to be due to the fact that we are a caregiver or a support system for someone else, but it does mean that we are not taking good enough care of ourselves. It could be that we are used to putting ourselves last, we're used to putting other people and their needs first, or we just don't know the value of true self-care, or it could be that we don't have a good enough support system for ourselves, which is very important as well. So when we don't meet our own needs, that can also contribute to this. Now, the 5th one is interesting, and that can be having to make too many decisions. And this one can really affect us way more than we think. So maybe we are moving, or we're buying a house, or we're having a baby, or maybe our job just requires us to make lots and lots of important decisions all the time. Research really shows us that we can really only make so many decisions a day, or we are going to feel completely overwhelmed and really suffer decision fatigue. Number 6 is procrastination, perfectionism, and avoidance. Now, all three of these coping mechanisms cause us great stress and anxiety. So believe it or not, when we put things off, when we are so perfectionistic that we want to get every single detail right, and we spend so much time with everything, or if we just avoid things completely because they are overwhelming to us, all of these strategies just really lend to mental fatigue because our brain finds it much less taxing to actually just go ahead and solve problems than to endlessly put them off. Number 7 is one that you might not be expecting, and that is clutter. Now, this is something that I can completely relate to because I used to be completely disorganized and constantly live in a state of clutter. This is something that I made a video about. I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description box below because I think this is a resource that can really help you if you are struggling with this. But research really shows us that being exposed to both mental and physical clutter does nothing but trigger stress hormones, which is definitely going to contribute to that sense of mental fatigue. And the final reason can be sleep deprivation. Now, we already talked about the importance of sleep and self-care, but the sad reality is that most adults do not get anywhere near the amount of sleep they actually need. And that is 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. So I am going to pop down 2 more videos in the description box below. One is about sleep deprivation, and the second one is about how I cured my own insomnia. I know this is something that many of us suffer with, so maybe that can be a resource for you as well. But it is important that we start to be realistic about the amount of sleep that we actually need so we can really try to ward off this mental fatigue. So those are the most common causes or habits that can contribute to this mental fatigue, but how can we really know if it's something that is truly affecting us personally? Well, firstly, we're going to certainly identify with a lot of the causes that I mentioned on the list, or a lot of the habits, but we could also have some emotional signs, and some of those could be difficulty concentrating, a decline in productivity, depression, anxiety, anger, detachment, a lack of motivation, or a feeling of apathy. So if we are experiencing any of those emotional signs, that could be also another indication. We could also have some physical signs as well, and those could be anything from weight gain to weight loss, insomnia, chronic fatigue, headaches, or changes in appetite. And of course, we are going to notice some behavioral signs, such as maybe calling into work all the time, or maybe starting to avoid social situations, or maybe we're just not able to really perform up to our own standards. So if we are experiencing any of these signs and symptoms, it's definitely not something that we want to ignore. Maybe we are not yet at that actual stage of mental fatigue, but we could certainly be on the road to burnout. And if you feel that, yes, you are truly suffering from this mental fatigue, I am going to link down one more video in the description box below, probably the most important video of all, which is how to recover from this emotional exhaustion. So it's going to help us with recovering from burnout, from this true mental fatigue. And also keep in mind that this may be something that you can't truly handle on your own. You may feel that you want the aid of a therapist. In that case, you want to find a licensed mental health counselor that would be more than happy to help you through this incredibly difficult and stressful time in your life. So with that being said, I truly hope you found this video informative and helpful, and if you did, please like it, share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today, and also do become a subscriber if you aren't one already. We definitely want you to stay connected, and I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.